Shaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namaha Namah pankajanaභaya Namah pankajamaline Namah pankajanitraya Namaste pankajangriye Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Śrī Caitanya Ishvaram. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear worshipful devotees, thank you so much for joining for reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So we are reading Canto 9, chapter number 6, entitled The Downfall of Saubhari Muni. So we were discussing yesterday that how and what was the main reason for the downfall of Saubhari Muni. Because he thought, oh, I am a great yogi, I am special, and he dared to curse the great Garuda. That was the reason for. Then he married the 50 daughters of Manadatta, and Manadatta was amazed to see, my goodness, what kind of special powers he has. He has created so much opulence. So even Manadatta, who was the ruler of the 7 islands, he was also very amazed. So we read till that point yesterday. Let's move on to text 48. Evam griheshvadhi abhirato vishayan vividhai sukhai sevamano na chatushyad ajyastoke rivanalaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. In this way, Saubhari Muni enjoyed sense gratification in the material world, but he was not at all satisfied, just as a fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat. Purport. Material desire is just like a blazing fire. If a fire is continually supplied with drops of fat, the fire will increase more and more and never be extinguished. Therefore, the policy of trying to satisfy material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. In the modern civilization, everyone is engaged in economic development, which is another way of constantly dropping fat into the material fire. The Western countries have reached the summit of material civilization, but people are still dissatisfied. Real satisfaction is Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam yatva mam shantim richati. The sages who knows me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of the material miseries. One must therefore take to Krishna consciousness and advance in Krishna consciousness by properly following the regulative principles. Then one can attain an eternal blissful life in peace and knowledge. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So very, very powerful verse with a very deep lesson here, that Saubhari Muni had married 50 young, beautiful daughters of Manadatta, and he was very powerful. He had youth, he had palaces, he had gardens, he had ponds, he had wealth, gold, rubies, pearls, you name it, he had it. He had reached the summit, like the peak. When we discussed that, even Mandata was amazed to see his material opulence. So he had everything, but still no happiness. We see that multiple times in the Bhagavatam. Even Mata Devotee, right? When Karda Muni had created multiple palaces and like a flying palace, what to speak of. Can anyone in this material world has a flying palace? Even those they may fly in private jets, it's a very tiny space. They don't have a flying garden, flying pond, or flying pool. They can, so, but still not happy. And Prabhupada is saying, yes, this is what is happening. Western countries have a lot of material opulence, wealth, facilities, etc. But everyone is miserable. Why? Lack of Krishna consciousness. So until one has the higher taste, until one is serving Bhoktaram Yajñatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, until one is serving Krishna, one will not be happy, no matter how much one may have. Rather, the more one has, the more one will be miserable. And Saubhari Muni's example is very classic. So what is the solution? Prabhupada is writing, one must therefore take to Krishna consciousness and spend our time and energy properly in making more advancement in bhakti, rather than thinking, oh, if I get more money, I'll be happy, or if I get a better wife, I'll be happy, if I get a better home, I'll be happy, if I get a better car, I'll be happy, if I get a better husband, I'll be happy. All this is Maya's in allurement, because Saubhari Muni had the best of everything one can imagine, but still not happy. Some people say, oh, life is meant to enjoy the pleasures of senses, etc., and live life king size, do whatever you want, eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want. After all, what is the use of life if you don't do all these things? Why did God give this if it was not meant for enjoyment? Some people concoct their philosophies like that. So, and then they say, well, if you gratify the senses, then only it will lead to renunciation. But we have discussed this multiple times, that putting fuel in the fire will not lead to cessation of fire. Rather, it will add to the fire. To seize the fire, we have to sense control, or stop adding, as Prabhupada, if we constantly keep adding drops of fat, referring to butter or ghee, in the fire, will the fire ever stop? No, it's like fueling, it's fuel. Agni mein ghee dalna. It will never cease, it will continue to get bigger and bigger. Similarly, if we have to control our desires, our senses, then we have to stop using them in selfish purposes. That's like adding ghee. If you use them for Krishna consciousness, that's a higher taste. Then they'll naturally be controlled. So give up the lower taste, take the higher taste. That's a formula for seizing the fire. So here Saubhari Muni was completely kind of like saturated or done with that this is not real thing. He was not happy. He was not at all satisfied. So let's see what happens further. Text 49. Anyone who hasn't didn't get a chance yesterday is Lakshmi Mataji. You want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna all devotees. Text 49. Sa kadachit upasena atma pahnavam atmanaha dadarsha bavaracharyo minasanka samuttitam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thereafter, one day while Saubhari Muni, who was expert in chanting mantras, was sitting in a secluded place, he thought to himself about the cause of his fall down, which was simply that he had associated himself with the sexual affairs of the fish. Purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura remarks that Saubhari Muni had fallen from his austerity because of a Vaishnava aparadha. The history is that when Garuda wanted to eat fish, Saubhari Muni unnecessarily gave the fish shelter under his care. Because Garuda's plans for eating were disappointed, Saubhari Muni certainly committed a great offense to a Vaishnava. Because of this Vaishnava aparadha, an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, Saubhari Muni fell from his exalted position of mystic tapasya. One should not, therefore, impede the activities of a Vaishnava. This is a lesson we must learn from this incident concerning Saubhari Muni. Back to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So we read this story yesterday in more details, that Saubhari Muni cursed Garuda, which is one of the 6 types of offenses. Because Garuda was just doing his work. And Vaishnavira Kriya Mudra Bhigyana Bhujaya. Who is, unless one is Guru of Garuda, one should not be correcting anyone. Oh, I feel that this person is doing wrong, let me correct him. I feel this person is, this is not our job to correct. We have to correct our own self. And a guru has the right to correct the disciples. A parent has the right to correct the children. So this was the reason because of Vaishnava Prad, he got into wrong association. Or he could not even control the basic temptation of seeing the sight of fishes engaged in bodily pleasures. Not even humans, it was fishes. He couldn't even control that, and he because the main reason was he committed offense to devotee. So if we commit offense to devotee, then we will lose our spiritual strength. We will not be able to control our temptations. We will fall in the trap of bad association. We will stop doing our spiritual activities, our sadhana, seva. So that's the harmful effects. Therefore, one should take it very, very seriously and never do Vaishnava Prad. It's very serious. All our spiritual potency will go down, and the tendency to enjoy selfishly, sense gratification will go up. We see that this is an example. So let's see the next verse. Any other comments or additions here? Okay. Yes, Vijaya Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Text 50. Aho imam pashyata me vinasham tapasvinaha satcha ritavratasya antarjale vari chara prasangat prasyavitam brahma chiram dhrutam yata. Translation. Alas, while practicing authority even within the depth of the water, and while observing all the rules and regulations practiced by saintly persons, I lost the result of my long austerities simply by associations with the sexual affair of fish. Everyone should observe this fell down and learned from it. Hare Krishna. Back to you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So where was this thing happening? Anyone knows? Recalls? Where was this thing happening?
Yamuna, Prabhu. Yamuna.
Yamuna, yes. Mathura, Yamuna. So just think about such a holy place, such a holy water, right? But even one could be in a holy place, in holy water, but if the mind is absorbed in something else, if mind is not absorbed in Krishna, hearing, chanting, Vaishnava association, then even in a holy place one can fall down because of bad association. And why? So bad association, is one thing. Like seeing is one thing, but not able to control that temptation is one thing. Like this kind of episode, is not uncommon in especially Kali Yuga. Same with Ajamil's story. Ajamil also saw some kind of like humans doing that, embracing, etc. But in this case, fishes are even low creatures. They don't know the sense of right and wrong. Same with dogs, and you may see these dogs or monkeys and some different creatures. But if our spiritual potency will be less, then those things will bother one more. If the spiritual quotient will be high, then one will be able to, one will see, but one will not contemplate on that. One will, the cycle of fall down happens with this only. One contemplates, oh, these fishes are enjoying. Oh, how much I would enjoy if I also had such company. Oh, it will be very nice. I'll have a nice kingdom. Oh, this. But I'm not so beautiful. Who will marry me? No one will marry me. Maybe I need to do a facelift, right? Maybe I need to go to some beautiful parlor. Maybe I need to change my body. Therefore, everyone wants to change one's body. And that's what he did. He did through his own powers. These days, people do through their own power, makeup, and this. As you were hearing Prabhupada's lecture the other day, Prabhupada said, Sharira para yoga, not Vasudeva para yoga. Sharira para yoga. Everyone thinks his body is everything. Everything is meant for body, right? This makeup industry, this all these salons and makeups and artificial things are like, it's like trillions of dollars. Why? Because everyone wants to change the way they look. Why? To attract the attention of others. That's the reality. So that others can glorify them. Basically, bodily level. But if he would have just say, okay, the sight is there, but we don't need to contemplate on that sight. We just keep moving on. Because we will see these things in Kali Yuga, advertisements, billboards, and people around. So all we have to do is to immune ourselves. Immune ourselves. These are like viruses. These sites are like viruses. They try to attack our spiritual question. But if we have immuned ourselves with good chanting, good sangha, good, vow to the spiritual master, then when the mind, tells something agitating, say, no, how can I do? What will my Guru Maharaj say? He trusted me so much. How can I even think of like such a bad act? What will my devotee friends say? What will Srila Prabhupada say? We should always think like that. And then that sight will be out of mind, and then example is Haridas Thakur. He was tested very, very badly. At the peak of night, the opposite sex came to allure her, to enjoy. No one was there, but he was busy chanting the holy names. He didn't get allured. Even Maya herself, Maya personified herself, came to allure, but a pure devotee is never allured, like Haridas Thakur. So we have to take inspiration from Haridas Thakur, but how he was not allured in such alluring and tempting situations. And allurements can come in multiple ways. It's not just of opposite sex. It could be other allurements. For someone, it could be drinking. For someone, it could be, meat eating. For someone, it could be eggs. For someone, it could be, some other, cigarette or other things. Or for someone, it could be subtle things, right? These are the gross things. But someone, it could be, oh, I'm not getting respect. This person is getting respect. That's also attachment. That's also bad. For someone, it could be, why I'm not getting appreciation, why this devotee gets appreciation. That's a subtle level of enjoyment on the bodily level. I do more seva than him or her, but this devotee gets more appreciation than me. So let's see the next verse. Any other comments before we move on? 51. Yes, Vasuti Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text 51. So will I read the whole purport, Prabhuji? It's a big purport. Half. Maybe half I will read. Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam. Text 51. Sangam tyajeta mithuna vratinam mumukshu sarvatmanana vishrajet bahir indriyani ekascharan rahashi chittam ananta ishe yunjita tadbratishu sadhushu chet prasangaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. Purport. Saubhari Muni, giving conclusions derived from his practical experience, instructs us that persons interested in crossing to the other side of the material ocean must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and accumulating money. This is also advised by Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Nishkinchanasya bhāgavata-sevayā mukasya param jigamishar bhava sagarasya sandarsanam bhishyanam atha yoshitam cha ha hanta visha bhakshanotopi ashadhu. Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka 8.27. Alas, for a person seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification and seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. One who desires complete freedom from material bondage can engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He must not associate with Vishai, materialistic persons, or those interested in sex life. Every materialist is interested in sex. Thus, in plain language, it is advised that an exalted saintly person avoid the association of those who are materially inclined. Srila Narottam Das Thakur also recommends that one engage in the service of the acharyas, and if one wants to live in association, he must live in the association of devotees. Taderu Charanashevi Bhakta Shane Basha. The Krishna consciousness movement is creating many centers just to create devotees, so that by associating with the members of such a center, people will automatically become uninterested in material affairs. Although this is an ambitious proposal, this association is proving effective by the mercy of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. By gradually associating with the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, simply by taking prasad and taking part in chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, ordinary persons are being considerably elevated. Saubhari Muni regrets that he had bad association even in the deepest part of the water. Because of the bad association of the sexually engaged fish, he fell down. A secluded place is also not secure unless there is a good association. So in this translation and purport and this verse is Prabhupada is very nicely explaining how important is the association of devotees are. Like a person, a devotee who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service, they should pick with whom they will associate. So that's why it's very important for the devotee not to mingle with materialistic persons or Bishoyi persons. Here Prabhupada is telling Bishoyi. Bishoyi means who are more materialistic. So that's like bad, negative, that will be a negatively impact in their life. So that's what I understood, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So, in a nutshell, association is very, very powerful. In a good way and in a bad way. We always discuss this point in practically every class. And because the bhakti, the ABCD of bhakti, the A starts for association. Even in the 9 stages of bhakti, Ado Shraddha Sadhu Sangha. After little faith comes Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koye, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoy Sadhu Sangha. Bhakti Janma Mula. That means the root cause of birth of bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. Krishna Prema Janma Itina Puna Mukhya Anga. To awaken love of Godhead, the Mukhya Anga, the main limb is Sadhu Sangha. So in short, Sadhu Sangha is very important, whether one is a new devotee or a very, very stalwart devotee. It's not that, okay, now I know I have to chant Hare Krishna. I know, okay, I'm following 4 regulative principles. Okay, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Now I don't need Sadhu Sangha. Now I'm immune to Sadhu Sangha. Now I won't fall in the trap of Maya. The moment we feel like that, we will get trapped. There are so many, we can talk about the importance of association. You know, the Maya, so we may have seen these videos when a deer is alone, is aloof from the herd of the deers, then that deer is captured by the tiger of Maya, right? If the deer which are together, that deer won't be captured. When the deer which stays away from the herd will be captured the first. Why? Because he is not in association. He thinks I can manage on my own. I can cross over this river, this forest on my own. We cannot. Prabhupada said if one thinks one can practice bhakti by himself or herself, one is in hallucination. Same with if this personality, Saubhari Muni, would have been in good sadhu sangha, then they would say, Baba, why are you getting so tempted by seeing these fishes? You came here not for watching the fish show. Even if you saw, what's the big deal? Let's just focus on mind on Krishna, right? But you can control that urge. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udropasta vegam etan vegan vishaheta dhira sarvam api mam prithivim sashishya. The urges of body, mind, anger, speech, genitals, etc. You have to control these. And the formula is by stop putting the fuel in the fire. The more we put fuel in the fire, the more the fire will grow. Very simple. As simple as it sounds. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya was very strict. Lord Chaitanya very, very strict. He would not associate with Vishayi. He would not easily associate with Prataputra Maharaj. To set the example, although Prataputra Maharaj was a great devotee, but he did not easily give him his darshan. It was a long story. And so with anyone, practically any. So we have to be careful, those people who are just talking about only money, or the new car in the town, new restaurant in the town, new this in the town, new movie in the town, new casino in the town, how to enjoy more, about talking about women or women talking about men, or it's both ways. So we have to avoid that. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time that one will feel, well, maybe I'm missing out something, right? Fear of missing out, right? That's what Saubhari Muni felt. Maybe I'm missing something. Looks like these fishes are doing better than me. So, but if we are in good sadhu sangha, then we will realize that actually what we have attained is the real thing, and how I need to grow more and more in my bhakti. Asat sangatyag ei vaishnavacha. So we have to give up the bad association and take the right association. Both are important. Both are important. And when we have the good association, good nurturing through scriptures, even though accidentally, unknowingly, accidentally, even if there are mistakes, let's say we see something which we're not supposed to see, right? These days, especially billboards, so many videos and little pop-up, like advertisements and stuff. But if we have good association, good vows to Guru and Krishna and Prabhupada, then we'll have the strength to say no. The strength to say no will come through spiritual strength developed through the positives. The positives like A, B, C, D, E, association, reading books, chanting, etc., will give us the strength to say no. Otherwise, there will be no strength. The good dog will be weak. The good dog will say, don't do this. The bad dog will say, no, do this. It's which dog will win the more we feed. The dog, which that dog will win. So, give up the bad association, take the good association. That is the real formula taught by Lord Chaitanya himself. Any other comments, additions?
I have a question about Saubhari Muni. He is in a big stage, so he did not realize that he did that offense. Because of that, he fall down, because he's thinking like because of the bad association. But the real cause is because of he cursed Garuda.
Yeah, that's the root cause, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in the previous text number 49. Because he cursed Garuda inappropriately, thinking himself to be great out of self-pride, that I can curse Garuda because I am a great yogi. How dare, if someone takes shelter of me, then I will give them protection. So, and that was the root cause, but there was a immediate cause. Immediate cause was that he couldn't even say no to even the sight of the fishes, right? Why? Because of the root cause. The crime he committed, Vaishnava Prad, will lead to spiritual weakness. Spiritual weakness, the spiritual power will go down. Like the good dog is weakened, the bad dog is howling. Allurement came, bad dog crushed the good dog. So both the immediate cause is the sight, but the root cause is the offense. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes. Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, would someone like to read? Text 52.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can read.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, what is the meter for this kind of big verses?
I'm not sure. Some verses actually don't have a meter. They are called
Okay.
prose. They just have to read. But I can double check. I don't know if this one would fall in that category or if there is a meter. But try your best.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. एकस्तपस्वी अहम अतांबासी मत्स्य संगात पंचाशद असम उत पंचसहस्र सार्घ नान्तं ननन्तं वृजामि उद्भय कृत्या मनोरथानां माया गुणैर्हृत मतिर्विषये Rita Bhavaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the beginning, I was alone and engaged in performing the austerities of mystic yoga, but later, because of the association of fish engaged in sex, I desired to marry. Then I became the husband of 50 wives, and in each of them I begot 100 sons, and thus my family increased to 5,000 members. But by the influence of the modes of material nature, I became fallen and thought that I would be happy in material life. Thus, there is no end to my material desires for engagement in this life and the next. So you can
Still,
please.
Mataji, want to share some thoughts?
Prabhuji, I think this is same as Gajendra Leela. You know, he just was so boastful that he's so powerful and he just wants to show all that in front of his wife, but he has become so engaged in materially trying to impress his wife and thinking he's great and everything, but he's so blessed that, you know, he was able to remember the God and surrender. So yeah, that's what I remember.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. So here it's mentioned that through each wife he got 100 sons, 100 children. Yeah, 100 sons, 5,000 sons. 50 times 100. That's a lot. But was he happy? No, he was not happy. Correct? He had everything. Wives, children, kingdom, beauty, strength, yogic powers, kingdom, everything one can imagine. But no happiness. But at least I feel that we can still learn that he's quite honest about his situation. Right? A lot of people don't even come to this conclusion that even after having everything, I am internally shallow. They will still keep boasting. Well, would anyone have opulence like Saubhari Muni in this day and age? No. But still, they would keep boasting that, no, I'm very happy. No, everything is good. Nothing is good. And this material world is dukhalya shashvatam. Whether one is a millionaire or trillionaire, everyone is miserable. It may seem to a beggar, it may seem that a person in a nice car and a nice house is very happy. But the person in that car only knows. He's thinking, wow, the beggar is having such nice sleep on the road. There is no worry, no hurry. I have like dozens of worries and hurries about taxes and pressure and this and that. Everyone is thinking that the other person is happy. The point is, everyone is suffering in this material world, irrespective of one's socio-economic status. But very few people reach to this conclusion that they're dissatisfied by everything. There is no end to material desires for enjoyment. He had the siddhis, anima, mahima, lagima, prapti. He could get anything, but still he was feeling, I'm getting, but still not grateful of that, and still not happy because there is no end point. Thus, there is no end in this life and the next. Life will, the death will come, the desires will not end. And then next birth again. Based on the desires one has, one will get the next birth. So I became fallen and thought that I would be happy in the material world. Isn't that everyone's thought also? That I think I'll be happy. If I have this, I'll be happy. If I fulfill that desire, I'll be happy. If I reach this stage of life, I'll be happy. If I move from a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, I'll be happy. Or if I buy this car, I'll be happy. This is never going to end. So one who honestly reaches, who's honestly reflective, self-introspective, and reflects about one's situation, one will understand that material things will not give true happiness. They can only give some temporary pleasures which ultimately become cause of bondage and suffering. Because we are spirit soul, anandamayo bhisad, that's pleasure seeking. We have to serve the spirit soul, then we'll see true happiness. By serving, by distributing prasadam, by distributing books, by chanting the holy names, by celebrating festivals. So many nice ways are there. And I can, I'm sure all of you have experienced that some form of spiritual bliss in these devotional activities, right? Raise your hand if you have felt that spiritual bliss sometime, not maybe all the time, but when we honestly, genuinely do selfless service, right? Don't we feel that? Just hours and hours go by and we feel wow, and we feel so satisfied that this is real bliss. And we want to be in that state all the time. Why? Because that's connected to the spiritual level. That's connected to our true self, the Atma. That's not connected to the bodily level. So, okay, would someone like to read text number 53?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please. Sri Prabhu can go to the next one. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, everyone. Evam vasan grihi kalam virakto nyasam astitaha vanam jagamanushyasu manuyashu tatpantyaha pati devataha. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai. In this way, he passed his life in household affairs for some time, but then he became detached from the material enjoyments. To renounce material association, he accepted the Vanaprastha order and went to the forest. His devoted wives followed him, for they had no shelter other than their husband. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, Vanaprastha Ashram is he developed that renunciation from the heart. Right? He had this genuine. He realized that there is no true happiness in all the pleasures, in all the so-called pleasures or the so-called accomplishments, degrees, wealth, sons, daughters, or empire. Then he retired, and the wives followed him. And in the Vanaprastha, the wives can certainly follow. Because that's the goal of life. To Vanaprastha means, okay, wind down. Grihastha means expansion. Vanaprastha is, okay, now time to wind down. The final lap is coming soon. Okay. Any other comments? Anyone? Okay, Sudhir Prabhu, want to read the next one?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Text number 54. Tatra tapva tapastaksnam atma darshanam atmavan saheva ganibhir amanam yuyoja paramatmani. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When Saubhari Muni, who was quite conversant with the self, went to the forest, he performed severe penances. In this way, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: at the time of death, fire burns the gross body, and there is no more desire for material enjoyment. The subtle body is also ended. And in this way, a pure soul remains. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Tektva deham punarjanma naitimam. If one is free from the bondage of both the gross and the subtle material body and remains a pure soul, he returns home back to Godhead to be engaged in the service of Lord. Tektva deham punarjanma naitimam iti. He goes back home, back to Godhead. Thus, it appears that Saubhari Muni attained that perfect stage. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So here we can see the beautiful translation and purport. So we can see that Saubhari Muni at the end, he realized his mistake and he went to the forest and did severe penances. And at that time, Prabhupada explains that at the time of the death, if we have attained, even the subtle body gets burnt. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada has given very nice example of Janma karma chame divyam yevam yoveti tattvataha tektva deham punarjanma naitino mamiti sarjana. So Krishna says that, the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities one knows. That's the reason we read Bhagavatam every day, and upon the leaving the body, he doesn't need to take any birth in this material world. So in the same way, even though Saubhari Muni was committed some offense and then he fell down, but he realized, and not only him, all his wives also followed him. So such a great example, Prabhuji. So that's what I understood. With the association, it is not possible. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Nice. So a few days back, we were discussing these 6R method to overcome our shortcomings, mistakes. And we see that actually here, Saubhari Muni is pretty much going through those stages. He was reflective, right? He was reflective that why I got into this thing, because I couldn't control my senses. And he's honestly admitting his shortcomings. And he was just doing some impersonal meditation under the water. And then he is reflective in realizing his mistake. He's self-introspection that I have wives, I have kids, I have kingdoms, but still I'm not happy. Something is not right. But now he's not just, he's repentant also. He's dissatisfied, repentant, remorseful. the first 3 stages, then leading to rectification. Now it's not that, okay, maybe I didn't do this, that's why I'm not feeling happy. His Grace Gauranga Prabhu mentioned this point. Some people think, maybe I'm not eating the cake from the right side, that's why I'm not feeling the happiness. One time, I was giving an example, short, funny story, that a cake was made, and somehow in the cake, instead of putting sugar, they put salt, because sometimes they may look the same. And guess what? It turned out salty, right? Everyone was expecting the cake, the final dessert at the end, and everyone had high hopes for the cake. And then someone took a bite from the cake, and oh my God, it's so salty. Something is not right. Maybe my taste buds are gone bad, or something has gone bad. Maybe let me taste from the left side. He took a bite from the left side. Again salty. Maybe the back side, maybe the right side. It was salty. So no matter how, and he gave a nice purport to it, no matter in whatever way one may try to enjoy the material world, one will suffer. One will think, well, I'm not happy in India, let me go to US. One will feel the misery there. Oh, let me go to Europe. Oh, let me change this city. Oh, let me change this thing. Let me change my, job. Let me change my city. Let me change my income. Let me change my plan. Let me change my this, my that. That no matter whatever one may try to change, the material world will not change, because dukhalyam or shashvatam. No matter from whatever side one may try to enjoy the material world, one will feel the same misery. So Saubhari Muni realized that he didn't have a material solution to material problem. All the problems have a spiritual solution. So he rectified, we need a spiritual solution. And that is what we read here. The 4th step, rectification by engaging himself in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is real rectification, Krishna consciousness, because the real problem is lack of Krishna consciousness. So he engaged in bhakti. I think it's the last verse, so let's complete this. Mohan Prabhu, would you like to read this one?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Tasva Pachir Maharaja Nirikshayad Yamikim Gatim Aniyustat Prahavina Agnim Santam Ivar Shisa. Could you scroll up, please, Prabhu? Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Maharaj Parikshit, by observing their husband progressing in spiritual existence, Saubhari Muni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his spiritual power. Just as the flames of a fire cease when the fire is extinguished. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhu. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.32, Striyo Vyasas Tatha Sudarastepe Yanti Param Gatim. Women are not considered very powerful in following spiritual principles. But if a woman is fortunate enough to get a suitable husband who is spiritually advanced, and if she always engages in his service, she also gets the same benefit as her husband. Here it is clearly said that the wives of Saubhari Muni also entered the spiritual world by the influence of their husband. They were unfit, but because they were faithful followers to their husband, they also entered the spiritual world with him. Thus, a woman should be faithful servant of her husband. And if the husband is spiritually advanced, the woman will automatically get the opportunity to enter the spiritual world. That's the end of Bhaktivedanta Purports of 9 Cantos, 6th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Downfall of Saubhari Muni. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji. The root cause of everything that happened to Saubhari Muni was, I believe, was Vaishnava Prad. I think we all should, if in our spiritual life, we should try very hard not to have any aparad to any devotee, any stand-in, anyone, as a matter of fact, because even though Garuda wasn't in that status, and his actions got so bad that he fell down, I believe that in our spiritual life, we should also try very hard not to cause no aparad, because we can meet the same fate, whatever or how far we have climbed in our spiritual life, it could bring us back down. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji, that's my reflections on this.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very nice lesson here that Saubhari Muni perfected his life, not through yogic powers, not through mantra tantra, but by engaging in Krishna's service. And so do his wives also. And I really like this lesson. Now they are not fighting, right? Earlier they were fighting. You remember? They were envying who will get the association of Saubhari, who will spend more time, who will get more, care or from Saubhari perhaps. But now they all are following in his footsteps and going back to Godhead. No envy. Very nice lesson. Because this is we read in the story of the Prachetas also, that Lord Shiva told them that you are doing this process of bhakti together in the spirit of non-envy. I'm very, very pleased with you. Because when devotees come together, and this is through one common focus to please Krishna, to please Guru, to please Prabhupada, then all the lower qualities, naturally, envy, fighting, naturally go away. So the point is that they also got the same destination. So Prabhupada is giving the ideal example. If the husband is a nice, spiritually advanced devotee, and if the wife is chaste and subservient, they both will naturally go back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada is quoting here. So we should try to be like that. And then we will also go back to Godhead. So, any other comments, questions, additions, corrections? A lot of nice lessons, especially in the later section of this chapter. The first section has a lot of kind of unique stories, which are a little hard to understand, but the later part of this chapter has wonderful lessons about association. And that's the title for today, actually. The power of association. How it can uplift us, how it can degrade us. Depends on what kind of association we choose. So we will pause here. And I'm so grateful to all of you for your wonderful association every day. And reading Bhagavatam together is very, very enriching and very, very special. Canto Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Krishna.